have the most hype for this team when the season started, but as soon as I started watching them in stage one, I became really impressed with what they'd be able to do. I think they showed up big over the offseason in EWC, and I think they've been playing pretty well so far this stage as well. So I've been turned into a big believer in NIP. I think this team has really got what it takes to consistently be a top 4 team in South America. Liquids, I can't say I've been as convinced. Obviously, they've been so inconsistent. The desk touched on it. This has just been a team that has so often been up and down and up and down. And now the fact that it's been ridiculously, it's been so confidently changed up, right? I mean, we've seen so many drastic moves over the last year with this team. I think it just it provokes a lot of questions, is what I'm trying to say here for Team Liquid. This will, I hope, answer some questions. If they can beat a team like NIP, we're not the best team in South America, but who I believe are up there, top 4 in my opinion, then that's going to say that this Team Liquid team is legit, right? Lenda coming in as the new captain, Daffodil being out of the squad is a real change-up for Liquid. It's given them some serious momentum. So if they get a win today, I'm going to be really impressed with that. Was a small issue with our map veto graphic. It's actually going to be Team Liquid starting on the defense, which means we expect them to take the lead early. They need to be able to close out on their attacks. NIP have been a really strong defensive team, as the desk talked about. So for Team Liquid, it's important to get as many rounds early as possible.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Consulate bucks the trend, by the way, of the most played maps, but is the 4th most played map in SAL. So far today, we have had Clubhouse, we have had Bank, we have had Lair, and we've had another Clubhouse. Clubhouse, Lair, and Bank are the top 3 played maps in the region. 4th is Consulate, but it's quite a precipitous drop-off from Bank in 3rd place. So how does Consulate sit? Well, overwhelmingly defender favored, but there's only been 24 rounds played, which is 2 games. So it doesn't really give us a good look into what to expect, but Team Liquid, the team that is less experienced, the team with a newer and fresher roster, in theory should start out on the easier side. Team Liquid are notoriously bad for quick starts. They usually need time to settle in, so being able to start on this, right now, at least on paper, better side, should do them some well, or do them some good. Or whichever you choose.
Already, we're seeing the drop in. Player gets into yellow and they start to flash their way in through the building. Fantasy in a really powerful position already in the side room, but loses the first fight to Lenda. The long angle, the DMR stepping up big. Here comes the plant position from Pino, but he's not actually got the defuse kit. He's here to frag Parker. Can't quite get enough for his teammates, though. He doesn't find any kills as he gets into this position. Cons with the fuse kit is now alone with Pino in the 2v4 by himself over towards yellow. Needs to find some way to group up because this push has not gone their way at all.
Multiple players on Liquid now in the fun. Will it be Diaz or Daffo to get the final kill, or one of the players on Liquid who already have a frag to their name? Well, 1 minute will give us the answer, unless Cons decides to leave the building and then just let the clock give the round over to Liquid. So Nitro SAL hawked out in front of Cons. He waits patiently, trying to draw out these players from Liquid, but I mean, a team like Liquid doesn't need to give him anything. He's worried about multiple angles. Liquid even has the time to send somebody down flanking on yellow if they so choose. Khan's just looking for a highlight reel here. It's Daffo to get the kill, by the way. 4 players on the side of Team Liquid getting a kill, almost a team ace. And that is the triumphant start that you are looking for if you want to make a statement against the top 3 team.
Yeah, and it comes off the brand new captain, Lenda, on your screen there, getting 2 kills to start that round. Finds Fantasy, who I was really impressed by his ability to get into the side room position, but he wasn't able to win the gunfight. That 2-brow DMR has been a nightmare to deal with all throughout today. We saw Cyber having so much fun with that gun just in our last matchup. Now Lenda's doing much the same. Gets the opening. Hates tries to repel into meeting to get some kind of a trade, but repelling in, not going to be super favorable gunfight. Lenda gets that kill as well, and does feel like a little bit of a rush to execute for NIP. You know, I appreciate the early pacing, right? It's round 1. Talked about this in the 9Z W7M game, but like, you're gonna go for a crazy rush like that, not even though it's that insane of a rush, but if you're gonna go for a faster paced round, you may as well do it the first round to see if your opponents will be a little sleepy at the start of the game, catch Team Liquid off guard before they've really warmed up into the match. But man, Liquid were very ready for it. I think a super solid defense and something they can now build off of it through the rest of this first half.
Attackers are moving to defuse a bomb.
This is a clash of the org titans. And I echo a lot of what Anne said on the desk, saying that she had a soft spot for Team Liquid. I've always had a soft spot for the org and their place in our esport. Obviously, that doesn't influence the casting. If Liquid gets, you know, crushed in a heartbreaking final, that obviously will be a story to tell, but it's nothing that I have to wrestle with myself. But I mean, you expect this team, this org, the caliber of players, the reputation it has to be in the top. I believe it was Fresh who actually said that line. But it's just, for whatever reason, success has eluded them. They have struggled to play proper Siege. And when I've talked to teams at live events, the main criticism against Liquid was that they play old Siege. They do not meet the moment of the meta. Now, it looks like their identity has shifted and they are embracing the newer style of Siege. It's going to take some time for them to adapt. Nesk is an old dog. You can teach him tricks, but it might just take a little bit longer for him to learn them. But Nesk has not really been the problem on this team when they've lost so far this stage. He was a critical part of that first round. So far through 3 minutes, he looks like the kind of guy, well, and they just got embarrassed by cons. Maybe not. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong, Jesse. I was going to say nice things about Nesk, but nope, no more.
Classic caster curse as it goes. Was in a strong position top floor with Maya. With him dying, Maya has been left alone. He was getting demos tracked earlier, so they're very aware of his position. Hasn't moved much, just sitting here on yellow stairs. Doesn't have the greatest weaponry. SMG-11's great, but it's no shotgun to try to play here on the staircase, so he's going to maybe move around a bit more. Beauty shot right onto Pino. The veterans of both teams have both gone down now, and it's left the young guys in the 4v4.
Hates will eliminate Maya, so Nip will regain a numbers advantage. Sacrificing Pino and the drones means less utility and less information on the side of Nip, but they have plenty to spare. All the death marks have been exhausted by Wizard at the 40-second mark remaining in the round. That is quite the pace. Good news, though, Hate still has both logic bombs. So now Liquid's positions will be known. Lenda's finished off by Fantasy after his phone started to ring, and now it's Dafo and Diaz as the last two remaining. Diaz finally on the board, everybody on Liquid, now netting a kill. Another follow-up from Diaz as he's blind and will fire away, but he has no visibility on Fantasy as he's completely blind in the corner. Call that Blair Witching, if you may. A successful round by Nip, and they've tied things up.
I also really like how they use the space that they got in that round. It starts off really strong with a brilliant pick from Cons right onto Nesk, and then even though Maya answers back with a great shot of his own, well, Hates has now taken that top floor space. He's inside of Expo, and he's got the vert angle to get the immediate trade back onto Maya. Didn't feel like there was any point in that round where Nip weren't in control. From start to finish, it felt like they were executing on their game plan exactly how they wanted. They had no issue dealing with the roamers. They had no issue getting the wall open. They had very long angle fights. Their util was pretty good. You mentioned the logic bombs that they had late into the round, which helped them secure some of those kills on the back end players. All in all, I think just a really clean attack from NIP. Choosing to slow things down a little bit after that first round didn't really go their way, and really reaping the benefits because of it. These opening picks are going to be absolutely critical when it comes to winning these rounds on the side of, well, both teams in particular. Team Liquid on defense especially haven't had the best conversion stat, only winning 58% of defenses when they get the opening pick. That is the worst in SAL on defensive side, so maybe a little bit less important for Team Liquid, but even still, denying those attacking conversions to NIP are absolutely massive.
Watch these roamers upstairs quite intently now as the middle floor bomb site, all on the same level. So first test for Nip is going to be to clear through this portion of the map, deal with whatever obstacles have presented themselves over by Office or CEO, which is where Maya sits. You have to deal with the Mozzie of Nesk, who's playing inside a projector. I remember all the way back, and was it Burnt Horizon when we saw Mozzie and Gridlock make their debut? It is very rare that they will be in the same game at the same time. I'm not sure what happened, but we have whisked our way through, and sadly they have all left the server. So we will, I believe that's called a rehost, actually.
Should be.
We will wait from our producer, Andre, as to what is going on with these teams and why they've left. But right now, no visibility, no real knowledge. We are a rebroadcast, which means that we are not the main broadcast of Brazil. We just broadcast it in English as it is live, which means that most of the time, any decisions that are done and or made are made by the Brazilian side, which is, even though it's the South America League, it is still run by the Brazilian office as far as I am aware. And it means that we are along for the ride, and so are you.
Yes, that is generally how it goes. Today, actually, it was me. I was the one who decided the rehost would have it. That's usually how it goes. So I think good information to give out in general. But today, I felt like that round just didn't really get off to the start. Didn't really have the vibe of the start of the round that I was looking for.
It's very kind of you.
Yeah, of course. I like to meddle in the competitive integrity of the games whenever I get the chance. Just as a caster, one of those powers that I have, you know.
Take a look on your screen, by the way, the standings after 4 matches of our play day today. We are just waiting to see what happens with that NIP Liquid game that we were in the midst of. They have fallen down the standings due to the results of the game. NIP finds themselves going from 3rd down to 5th. Liquid still sits in the top 6. It's Los who's been pushed out. W7M obviously getting a huge leg up by demolishing 9Z earlier today. Loud beating Los also propelled them into the top 3. Outside of FaZe and Furia, there is a lot of room for movement in the middle to lower portion of this league. Everybody was very close together, and it was a 3-way tie actually between Loud, Los, and Team Liquid. Earlier, all 3 of them were in the playoffs. If it were to come in, I believe relegations, Jesse, are a thing. So that would be what, 9Z and Black Dragons who would be kicked out at the moment. Do you want to confirm?
So relegations are, I believe, bottom 2 of stage 1 and stage 2 group stage combined. So the stage 1 results will matter for relegations as well. That's also true for the SAL finals, which takes both the stage 1 and stage 2 standings into account. So when we get into that, that'll kind of make the choice in terms of who ends up relegated. There's also rules about partner teams, I believe, not being able to get relegated. So it's a somewhat complicated system, but that's what we're at right now.
Our good friend Alfama, by the way, has weighed in here now, saying that it's the total points of stage 1 and 2. So 9Z and ENX would be the 2 teams right now in that position. They are both affiliate teams, so that should make it a little bit clearer. But either way, just cycling through it. That FaZe Furia game earlier was excellent, and it lived up to the billing in my eyes. Both of the teams were actually benefiting from going to overtime because it still gives them that wiggle room between the top 2 spots and 3rd place, Jesse. If you saw the standings that were on your screen, Loud was sitting at 9 points in 3rd place. FaZe is in 2nd with 13. That means that if FaZe loses their next game and Loud wins their next game, FaZe does not fall out of the top 2. It gives them just a little bit more wiggle room. FaZe will actually be playing W7M tomorrow in what will be, on paper, an incredible matchup. Furia has a bit of an easier day as they go up against ENX, one of the bottom teams. As for Loud, they'll have their hands full against Team Liquid. So we'll see. Will Liquid vault their way up the standings? Will they topple NIP, who was the superior team just based on those standings earlier today? We're back in action now. Thank you so much for your patience. And all things look to be about where they were. I don't know if the teams will be able to swap up their operators. I was talking about how Mozzie and Gridlock were both being played, and it happens very rarely. It does not look like NIP is going to lock in the Gridlock just yet. I don't know if timing or an admin decision is the culprit for that. We'll wait information. We don't have any yet, but fingers crossed that all will work and we'll be able to get into our 3rd round between NIP and Liquid.
Generally, I don't think there's any circumstance these days where operators are forced to get locked in. That definitely used to be a rule, but since there's a repick for the attackers, I think the logic goes, well, attackers have to be able to change their operators, and so defenders kind of get that same privilege as well. So shouldn't be any issues with any ops getting played at this point. The rehosts going through, we were decently deep into the round, at least as far as rehosts go. There were no kills or anything, obviously, but I think it was about 30-40 seconds, so there might have been some good droning done. It's the same bomb site for Team Liquid as we saw in round 2. So we're going back down to that basement, hoping to run it back, and I think hoping to get a bit more success on the roam game. Because that early death from Nesk and then a quick death afterwards from Maya, that really gave NIP the early advantage in round number 2 when they were going for this roam clear on the bottom floor. You can see the positioning from both Maya and Nesk has drastically changed up with a little bit more pressure towards the Visa side of the map this time around. And now they'll kind of retreat back to where they ended up meeting their demise in round 2.
Logic bombs will go off. Fantasy, the first one to die, but Dafo's picked off on yellow stairs. Not sure if he was expecting somebody to be top yellow on that skylight with a minute off of the clock. Cons will trade out Maya after he just lost his teammate, and that gives Nip another advantage in numbers. For how long? Hard to say. These 3 rounds have been a breakneck pace as both teams have been sprinting towards the finish. All quiet now. Nesk has already found a kill. He had a kill in the previous round. Lenda chased off of his spot, Jesse. He's pushed back into open area. Or over, and now Wizard will find yet another onto Lenda. So excellent work from Nip to cut through this defensive structure. Liquid in a troubling spot with a little bit more than a minute to go. Final logic bomb will go off. And if Nip, with their ears perked, will desperately wait to hear from Nesk and Diaz.
This is a miserable round if you're Diaz. You're in the bomb site and all 4 of your players are top floor. 3 of them have died. Nesk might be able to do the exact same. He did drop the hatch, so he's down in piano now and will hopefully get back to support his teammate. Looks like they will make it to the basement together. So they've survived with 2 players, but this should be a collapse coming in from NIP. Only 40 seconds to find the last frags or get the defuse kit on the ground. Given their positioning, that's actually not very much time at all. I think their man advantage they've acquired should be enough to win this round, but a well-timed frag from Liquid could turn everything on its head and result in a time victory.
Those boogie drones are not just a pain in the rear for defenders because you lose part of the ceiling above you. They're incredibly loud. And it conceal the advances of the rest of these players. Nip is hoping to benefit off of that. Diaz finding everybody, and he can't escape Pino. My goodness! That was very close. Almost too close for comfort. I could have gone either way, and a 50-50 gun duel will break in favor of Nip, but both teams so close to a victory. I don't know if Liquid deserved that one, but Diaz's inhuman efforts himself almost pushes it into the win column for Liquid. What have you picked up on these first 3 rounds, Jesse? Any operator bans that you think stick out?
I think the Dokkaebi makes a lot of sense if you're Team Liquid. You've been getting crushed on the roam game, right? Ignoring the top floor where you don't really need to roam. Both times you went down to the basement, the roam game just really fell apart. In round 2, I've said this, but we got to repeat ourselves here. It's Maya and Nesk, solo roamers, and it goes bad. Nesk dies, Maya dies right after, only getting 1 kill between the 2 of them. Round 3, they play the same bomb sites, they play the same operators, but this time they say instead of just Maya and Nesk roaming the top floor, Daffodil and Lenda are also going to roam top floor. We'll leave Diaz in the basement by himself. Who cares? He can figure out the site. Every other player is going to roam top floor when it's a basement defense. And it went even worse for them. The logic bombs of Wizard were the key factor in cleaning up those roaming players. Maya, Lenda, Daffodil, all going down on that roam game, giving NIP an even greater advantage than what they had back in round number 2. Now, Diaz put the team on his back and nearly clutched up anyways, but I mean, it shouldn't have even gotten that close. NIP had done such a good job on the roam clear, and Liquid have been struggling so much in those early games that I think removing the Dokkaebi is absolutely a smart play from them. Doesn't mean that it's going to be easy to roam anymore, though. They don't actually go to the top floor. They're going to keep NIP on their toes and play piano for the 4th round, even though top floor opens back up. get to play it later on, but this is another one of those sites where roaming above the site is absolutely critical. And it looks like Liquid are going to commit to it once again. Nesk and Maya playing this top floor together. They need to be more productive than what we've seen in the last 2 rounds.
It's been fun watching Liquid adapt to these new roles and these new players. I mean, Lenda and Daffodil, or well, Daffo as he's called now. I'm wondering if it's just because Liquid takes up so much space that he can't go with Daffodil.
I think so.
I think that's the reason for that. These are 2 players that never in a million years would have I thought would be the 2 to plug the holes on Team Liquid. But what was so obvious is that they needed dedicated support players with a different vision of the game. There's so much depth in this region, Jesse. You could literally throw a dart and hit a talented player on any of these teams. So if Liquid is one of the premier destinations, or so we think, wants players, a lot of times they're going to get the players that they want. Obviously, there's more that goes on in the background that we are not aware of, but Daffo and Lenda were both pickups that much of the community and even other pros kind of raised their eyebrows at, but they've settled in nicely. And combined with Maya's aggression, Diaz's flexibility, reloading, and Nesk's overall experience, it's made for a good team that is still finding its footing. On the side of NIP, when you pick up players like Fantasy and Hates, you expect them to dominate games. They have done so many times in their career. If they are the best Liquid, you need a team effort, but you also need those 2 fraggers to go as big as you know they can.
The early game ended up being more passive for Liquid this time, conceding the top floor, but wasting a lot of time for NIP. The clock was the biggest problem for NIP in round 3. Even though they won it, it was very close on that time. It could be a very similar story. Now it's not just 2 guys in the basement you have to clear out, but there will be 5 players in the bomb site and around that first floor that you will need to clean up in the next 40 seconds. The bees will help, but there's a lot to do if you're a ninja.
No ammo. Hive deployed.
There goes the utility from the Grim of Fantasy above. It won't help Hans, who is picked apart by Lenda. 25 seconds remaining, 9 players still alive. This is going to get real ugly in a hurry, and I fear for NIP as they've lost Fantasy now too, who's holding that upstairs position. Wizard hoping for something as he walks his way down the spiral stairs, attempting to push out one of the defenders, but Lenda's still holding that spot, and they haven't shaken him out. Time continuing to go down, and Hates gets a trade with a shotgun, but it may as well have been a flawless round for Liquid, as really, NIP struggled on that entry. They had a lot of problems taking control of that top floor. Kudos to Liquid for that. And ultimately just could not bail themselves out of a bad timed situation.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Parker. I mean, the time was just really tough getting into the top floor in particular. Fantasy was the first to enter the building at 1:47, but even that was just over towards admin. Eventually, actually clearing the rest of that top floor took so much more time. Even after Liquid fell off, I mean, Liquid conceded the top floor basically like 1:40. I mean, they did not stick around to take any gunfights with NIP, shot a couple drones, then immediately backed off. But it took NIP a really long time to get comfortable with the top floor, to realize that it was fully conceded to them. And then once they were there, there's no sledge, there's no ram, there's really no good there's no breaching charges for the soft breach. It's just shotguns that are trying to work away at those floorboards. And you know, secondary shotguns and stuff can be great, but they're supposed to be more supplementary than the primary thing you're using from a top-down push, right? I think if they had maybe a bit more of that breaching potential, could have forced out some more of those positions, gotten a pick or two before they actually had to commit to the execute. That could have made a huge difference, but instead, it's a 5v5 push. Good luck getting down just those few staircases and hatches to try to get into the bomb site. More really strong anchor play coming out from Lenda, too. He's gotten 2 opening picks now, I believe, through this game. Both of them just with him playing relatively passive positions, but even still, when the time gets low and when this execute starts from NIP, Lenda has been rock solid in repelling it.
A slow round, followed up by a slow entry at this point. This operator right here will help set the pace as there's still 2 death marks remaining for Hates. To your point about the Dokkaebi, Liquid was having some issues getting pinned down. A Deimos is going to work. Not the same as a Dokkaebi, but what is This is an incredible amount of time that was just spent by Hades, by the way. Sorry, my train of thought is completely gone because of what I was watching. That was some real determination.
Yeah.
Can't say it was a waste of time, but I am a little confused at the timing nonetheless. There's another death mark, by the way.
Two brows being used to counter these death marks makes it really awkward now for Hates to get anything done. He's trying to work the site from below, of course, get those vertical picks. At the same time, the horizontal play is coming out from Cons, but nobody is swinging this, not in a million years. He's going to have to be more aggressive if he wants to get some kills, and here comes the first bait for the plant. Successfully baited a Nitro Cell. That's what he wanted with that play. Pino will only have to bait out one more Toxic Babe, and he can start this plant.
And there we go, and the last gas canister will go. Pino flies out the window. A very oddly paced and extremely slow round so far. 1 minute remains, and no damage has been done. I say that right as Lenda dies, and Hates takes a beating as well, but is still trucking. Now it's Pino getting that diffuser down. Who can stop him? Doesn't look like there will be time for Team Liquid as they are just shoved away by Nip, who so far haven't suffered at all. Fantasy will bite the dust. It's Daffo in a 1v4 who makes his way out of the rotate created earlier, and Wizard will keenly watch that. What a bizarre round between these teams, and a wild end that ultimately ends up benefiting Nip.
It's a bit of a classic strategy. Consulate top floor, just going for a simple CEO execute. I feel like we used to see this like a year or two ago all the time. It was the most popular way to attack this bomb site. But as it became more and more and more meta, defensive teams started loading up on smokes. We saw Tachankas, nitros everywhere. You started seeing Goyos. It started being a lot of utility that you had to bait out if you wanted to go for that plant. So because of that, admin pushes started to become a lot more popular. We started to see teams move away from that push. We saw meeting window hop in plants a couple of times. But NIP deciding, you know what? We still like this push. It's still very strong. And especially after the smoke of Diaz wasted 2 Toxic Babes on yellow stairs, they recognized that, hey, there's not very much util left to actually stop our plants. I think it was 1 Goyo, 1 Toxic Babe, and 1 Nitro. Pino very simply hops in and out, dodging all of that utility. By the time he starts the plant, there's already like 60 seconds on the clock. I mean, he has so much time to get that down. You just don't see a fast enough response from Liquid. Yeah, Daffodil tries to go down below to get the vert angle on it, but it's way too late to have any chance of denying the plants. There's a swing from Lenda that's immediately shut down. There's another swing late from DS, doesn't quite get there. So in the end, it's just a little bit slow, I think, to respond to that, and it's good objective play from NIP.
So final round of this first half, Jesse. And Nip have been a well-oiled machine. It looked like Liquid had knocked them off of stride with that Dokkaebi ban. They bailed themselves out with the Deimos, and good teamwork, even with the clock being a little bit scary. And now they're going to bring something different. They still have those nuisance ops on the board. They didn't do a Dokkaebi. Obviously, they brought the Deimos. Now they're bringing a Lion. So lots of things to keep you in place. If Liquid want to be a, pardon the pun, fluid team and stay mobile, then they need to make sure they're not getting tripped up. There will be no mute jammers on the side of Liquid to keep them safe from whatever gadgetry that Lion decides to use, or when it will be used. They might be on the hunt right now for one of the roamers, as there goes that first EE1D, but it doesn't find anything for it, at least not yet. They've opened up the hatch, looking to pressure upstairs inside of admin. Hates is just waiting, going fishing, but you know, sometimes the beautiful thing about fishing is you never catch anything.
That okay. It was cool that he was able to pop the hatch from down below. It's not often you see that, although it does eat Fantasy's drones, so you know, you give and you take, I suppose. Start to work over on this admin side, and Parker, I think the clock is again going to be a big problem coming up here for NIP. They switched their push to go admin side rather than CEO, but getting admin, which frankly wasn't held very heavily by Team Liquid, has taken them nearly 2 full minutes. They're in it now, but you've still got to get past the vending hallway, which can sometimes be very tricky. You've got Tachanka Fire starting to burn you out now. 2 Toxic Babes in the pocket of Diaz. It's going to be a lot to get through, and it's not going to get any easier. You need a big couple of kills around Spiral or something to open up this round.
Yet again, we find ourselves with none of these players taking any damage at the 1 minute remaining mark. A very bizarre little factoid that has suddenly changed as Wizard, Cons, Fantasy, Nesk, and Maya have all taken some damage. All of them still walking as though they will be walking wounded. Maya leads things off as I'm not really sure what we're seeing here from Fantasy with the sidearm out. He finds a single pick in a second as well with the pistol. This is something so absurd. The words escaping my lips, very bizarre. Diffuser going down in the hands of Hates. Great read by Fantasy, but he's swiftly shut down by Maya as now the teams will turn to blows. Daffo and Maya, last two remaining. Hates taking down Maya, still fighting away near the diffuser. And Nip will win the round with diffuser down as they trade. This has got to be one of the silliest games I've seen in quite some time. What is going on?
It's not traditional, Parker, but it gets the job done, and it's pretty flashy while it happens, too. Fantasy playing that round fantastically, making a highlight play there, coming out with the pistol for two. You asked what you were watching, Parker. You were watching some magic being played out by NIP in that round. Really nice to be able to put that together. Again, I was worried with the clock. The fact that the time was so low kind of forced that to get as messy as it did, but Fantasy hit every shot that he needed to, including onto the Nitro cell that could have been absolutely devastating to that push, but he gets the job done in the end. It's the second plant to come through from NIP. Frankly, if you're Team Liquid, you're kind of lucky to escape that first half only with 2 plants for NIP. Throughout the stage so far, Liquid have allowed the most plants of any team on the defensive side, so they aren't very proficient at stopping the plants, and whilst they did a good job through the first 4 rounds, on CEO in round 5 and then coming in through meeting on round 6, it just wasn't something they were able to accomplish. NIP focusing that defuse kit really nicely at the end of that half and have gotten themselves quite a buffer. 4-2 on your attacking side of Consulate historically has been essentially an auto win condition. This map can be really defender-sided at times, and if that continues today, NIP will be locking down this game in short fashion.
As you see on your screen, the results from earlier today, we started off with ENX beating Black Dragons 7-5. We had Loud prevail 7-4, a 7-0 by the Bulls, major champs from Montreal last fall, defeating 9Z without 9Z getting a single round. 2 players on the side of 9Z yet to get a kill, 2 players on W7M not dying at all. Then we had a terrific match of Furia versus FaZe, with Furia just edging them out for a victory. And now, Nip, through the first half, handling Liquid quite effectively. And meanwhile, with very few plays, Consulate skews towards the defenders. Nip was able to muster 4 rounds on attack. They should be able to run away with this, but very small sample size. We'll wait and see how Consulate shakes out, as this map will have a pretty big impact on those numbers. But if you're a fan of Nip, you should be breathing a little bit easy at the moment.
Flash and mute banned out by Team Liquid, and anytime you see a mute ban, you start getting a little bit worried. With Deimos being removed, I don't think it's a little bit less scary, because mute can be so good for stopping some of those Deimos tracks to come out, but it's still going to mean that the Grim from DS is so much more powerful. These Sens walls from DS, I should say, will also have a huge impact. The Grim being played by Daffodil, of course, here. Will be enabling a lot of these electronic gadgets that Liquid are bringing. There's some good drones as well to get Hates out of Visa. He'll escape back up the stairs to his teammates. This is an admin push, just like round 6. Previously successful for NIP as they got a late plant down inside of meeting. Liquid will be looking to replicate that. Starts off a bit better, about 30 seconds faster to clear through admin. And with that time advantage, you have to imagine they'll be setting themselves up quite nicely to go for this plant. Some toxic babes to worry about, but plenty of time to bait those through.
I love the difference here in the operator lineups, Jesse. You've got the annoyance, obviously, of the shield is when your main entry on the side of Lenda, but there's smokes being brought. There's some grenades being brought, lots of grenades being brought to push you out of that position, and a hail of bullets as well. Liquid have, I would argue, deeper utility when it comes to objective play than what we saw from Nip. Nip was able to pull it off just by fragging their way through. Now, Liquid seems to be doing the same as they find 3 kills very early on. They've got the tools for an objective heavy take, but they can pull it off with just their guns. Nesk The old dog not learning new tricks, but if anything, reverting to his winning ways as it's a flawless start to the second half for Liquid.
So funny just to compare round 6 versus round 7 because it's the exact same push from both teams. Different operators to get the job done, yes, but the places where the attack is positioning themselves are identical. One of them gets a little bit cleaner than the other, and it comes off of great utility play, right? The Grim, the Send, then that positioning from Nesk as well on Spiral Stairs to really open things up. That's a second dimension onto any player who's top Spiral playing behind that reception desk, right? Now all of a sudden, you've got 2 different angles coming into that position. It becomes a lot more easy to win those fights and to take that space. NIP, I think, a little bit caught on how fast and how coordinated that push came through. Not a single kill in the brunt of that action right at the start of the round when it really did tilt the way of Team Liquid. Those are the explosive, well put together, coordinated pushes that Liquid will need to continue to have if they want to win with these consulate attacks. Once again, it is not an easy bomb site, or is not an easy map to attack, and NIP are not an easy team to attack. 70% defensive win rate through the first 2 weeks of the SAL, the best defensive win rate in the world right now through the second stage. This is a team that have been so exceptionally good on their defensive side, but Team Liquid made it look easy in round 7.
In keeping with, well, most of our matches today, obviously barring the one big blowout that we saw, this will likely go the distance, and that does not surprise me one bit. We are on schedule, so congratulations, everybody. We have done it. I'm excited for tomorrow's matches as well. Depending on what happens in tomorrow's games, we might start to see teams get locked in and locked out of the playoffs. We've started to see it in some of the other regions with how competitive and how few play days there have been here in the SA League. We have not been able to see it on their side of things, but I suspect that will change. The big victors would be FaZe and Furia, obviously, as they're already more than a game ahead of third place. The losers, unfortunately, I think at this current point in time are 9Z. Though, depending on what happens with this Liquid NIP game, 9Z might only be 2 victories behind 6th place. That's where they sit right now. Liquid on 6 points, 9Z on 0. NIP not that much farther ahead, sitting on 7 points. So there's pickup potential here. NIP will retake 3rd place if they win in regulation. If Team Liquid wins in regulation, depending on the round differential, they could vault all the way up to 3rd as well. But the top 2 just out of reach, at least for this play day and possibly for tomorrow's as well.
Very important game for the standings. This push from Liquid will be just as important, but it doesn't start strong. DS, the opening death to a Nitro from Cons, and Fantasy also finds Lenda. The shield going down, so no blitz to try to help with this push, and every single player in NIP remains alive. They're very separated on the side of Team Liquid. Maya finds Pino, Nesk at the top of Spirals all by himself. They're all top floor, though, and they seem to know Wizard's position.
Fantasy will find another NIP dominating the field. Liquid had such a strong start to this half, but now it's NIP's game. As Dafo finds himself in a 1v4, he'll have a lineup, managed to get the down and secure onto Cons, turning over. Thought about looking towards bathroom, but will now look towards that projector door. Making his way towards that reception desk, and he catches Fantasy for a second, but my oh my, those DMRs on defense, they will flatten you in a hurry, and that's exactly what Dafo just experienced. NIP going back to a 2-round lead, 5-3.
For me, the biggest difference between round 7 and round 8 was how separated Liquid were on that push. Diaz by himself with the sledge shotgun jumps in closet. No real pressure that I could see around the map to help support that. Immediately eats a nitro cell. Lenda then is trying to get into the building. He hops in the bathroom and is immediately shut down by Fantasy top floor on the roam. Instead of like a 5-man push straight in through Spiral and straight in through admin, which is what we saw in round 7, it was lots of individual entries happening in all different parts of the map for Team Liquid in round 8. Bathroom, closet, Spiral, yellow. Every player entered the building on a different entry point. And because of that, when a player dies, there's no potential of a trade. So one player eats a nitro, the other gets killed hopping in a window, and there's nothing you can really do about it if you're Team Liquid. You're just praying that you can win the rest of these 1v1 gunfights, and while a couple fights go their way, they kill Pino, they kill Cons, it's nowhere near enough. And frankly, a pretty easy defensive round goes the way of NIP. The desk kind of talked about it. This is the ridiculous coin flip team that is known as Liquid. Sometimes they look amazing. The coordination's out of this world. They look really well put together. And then sometimes you get rounds like that one.
Watching Nip's growth with this new roster, Jesse, has been terrific. I mean, it wasn't long ago that Hates and Fantasy were names that we would often trot out when asked about which team on a lower ranked Brazilian team is going to get the call up next. Like a lot of leagues, there are some teams that they either don't have the funding or they don't have the experience or they don't have the roster to be competitive. But you will see these breakout seasons from exceptionally gifted players. And unfortunately, you kind of have to view it as a feeder system. If you play on a team that just can't compete when it comes to funding or pedigree or even support, because some teams can barely have a proper coach, whereas others will have like a dietitian and other stuff like that.
Yeah.
You just have to wonder, okay, well, where are they going to go to next? Hates and Fantasy, unfortunately, have been in positions like that a few times, and it has come up often saying, well, where are they going to go next? When are they going to get the call up to one of the big teams? And we got the answer, and so far they have fit pretty well. Fantasy, maybe not this round, as he's the first casualty. Halfway through round number 9, Diaz strikes first. Down goes Fantasy. Now a bit of a pause. As Wizard is next in line. He and the Malusi of Hates are not far removed from each other. They are under watch as Cons is punished. These rounds have been so one-sided, Jesse, and oh my goodness, Liquid have suffered maybe 5 points of damage and they've killed everybody but Pino. In a vain attempt to keep this round close, out will go the first gas canister. 2 still remain with a minute on the clock. Nip can prolong this and Pino can maybe drag 1 or 2 down, but I just don't see how Nip were able to get themselves out of the situation positively. No, Maya slaughters him, and it's a flawless round for Team Liquid. 2 flawless rounds for Team Liquid in this second half. The gap between these teams is close to 1.
I can respect the attempt at an adaptation from NIP. You know, you lose round 7 on top floor by a strong admin push. So you say, we'll go back to top floor, but this time we're going to hard hold admin. We're going to go into break room. We're going to set up a mirror window. We'll have some Kibas around the place as well. And it was a cool idea for a strategy, but I honestly thought Liquid picked it apart really nicely. You don't often see a player in break room with all of the walls reinforced like that. The idea for Wizard is I'm going to have this mirror window for information, and then I'm going to lob the Nitro Cell over the triple reinforcement to try to get somebody as they repel into admin. But nobody repelled into admin. Instead, it was Lenda who jumped in copy instead. That's not an angle that I think Wizard was particularly prepared for. Fantasy tries to help out with some Kiba barriers, but he ends up just going down instead as he gets tracked by those bees and then shot by Diaz from outside the building. It's a really good double entry from Diaz Lucas actually to start off that round strong from Team Liquid. And again, this just seems to be the coin flip, right? Either Liquid can identify a problem, come up with the plan, and solve it really eloquently, or they don't really see a problem and they can't really dismantle it, that it all falls apart as they're playing individually. It's really a tale of 2 Liquids. And well, if you're a fan of this squad, you really are hoping to see more of those all-together pushes that we've seen twice now from their attacks.
Hates will bring out Denari, so we will get to see the operator for the second time today. Is that correct?
Yep, that sounds right.
Beauty. Did not particularly love the Denari play that we saw the first time a couple games ago, but I mean, Denari is a newer operator with a gadget that is not immediately impactful. You have to find ways to gain as much value as possible out of it. This has obviously been set up. I do love the ingenuity behind the operator, having to create lines of sight. I don't know what Hates will impede over by yellow and by bathroom, but it might be tricky to get rid of those little trip mines, those little gadgets, before taking some damage or being slowed down in the process. Honestly, the damage isn't really that bad a lot of the time. It's being slowed and not being able to respond to a gunfight or get yourself out of harm's way that can often be the bigger issue, and we've seen that with a couple instances in the NA League, especially on the Nighthaven Labs by the pool or aqua or fish side, depending on what you call it.
Yeah, there have been some really creative strategies that we've seen with it, and I do like this setup too around top yellow, and then just a small trip being played over towards Spiral and assistance with Fantasy's Grismod as well. Unfortunately, it looks like Hates will be the opening death, as despite what his trips might have been trying to prevent, he does get downed here. Daffodil surely will turn the corner and see his freebie. There we go. Cleans up Hates, answered off by Fantasy, though. The other top floor player who was roaming alongside Hates answers back to go 1-for-1, and that's exactly what NIP were looking for. You don't have to dominate in the early game. You at least trade out, you kill an important entry player in Maya, and now you can retreat back to site.
It's a big kill in Maya as well, but Diaz has very quietly put together 10 kills for his team. Nobody on NIP has really been running away with it. Despite their lead, it's very even across the board, with Pino lagging behind, but that's to be expected given his role. He's not the person who should be getting kills, especially not with the defenders he's been playing. As long as his gadgets allow the others to collect kills, then job well done. Team Liquid searching for something with that logic bomb, Jesse. They have none left. Very little was gained from it. I suppose they were able to hear where these defenders were, and it's prompted Liquid to move towards the back of the site. A Nitro SAL will go up. Khan's collecting collecting Lenda as he gets dropped. That's the Monty down. What a huge win for NIP. Now it's Nesk toiling from above. NIP very firmly in control, looking for match point to push Liquid into a position where they have to work harder for their subsequent games. Down goes Khans, but they trade perfectly. Nesk felled as well, and Daffo will join him. NIP move to match point.
The battle of the captains. Khans launching that Nitro to take down Lenda on the Monty was so critical to help win that round. Liquid, I don't think we're super happy with how the start of that round went. So they go 1-for-1 on the roam clear, and it does take them a decent bit of time to clear through, but they were absolutely still in that round. They had a good opportunity to put together a strong 4v4 push. The second the Monty goes down, though, all hope goes, not all hope, but the main plan goes out the window, right? If you wanted to get a plant down, maybe walking through yellow to get a plant radio, or even dropping the hatch with the Monty wasn't going to be very doable at that point. As soon as he's dead, of course, Nest taking a ton of damage vertically as well just made it even more awkward. And so man disadvantage, you push down, no logic bombs. That becomes a lot more tricky. Not as bad as some of the pushes that we've seen from Liquid this stage. I thought ultimately they had a good plan for that round. It just one Nitro Cell completely dislodges it. They will have a chance to call for attack timeout. They need to get back-to-back attacking wins on Consulate. Not the easiest thing to do, but I will say some of the rounds have been some of the bomb sites have been locked after that. Basement will no longer be an option until we get to overtime if you're NIP. Top floor will be an option, but you've lost it twice now, so I don't know if you really want to go back there. Then you've got Piano, which opens up again this round, and the fourth site, the site that teams tend to stay away from, Archives and Tellers, and that'll be the decision from NIP in round 11. Be very interested to see where they go round 12 if they try top floor again, but for now they gotta win. They gotta get through this one first.
Well, we are fast approaching the end of this play day, and both of these teams have had some good looks, Jesse. Both of them are still trying to sort things out. I mean, the fact that Liquid is keeping it as close as they have with NIP, a team that's slightly more experienced, with higher upside, I think that ultimately bodes well. Both of these teams will be in action tomorrow as we will have our sixth play day underway. NIP will be playing 9Z, in which should be, by most things, a relatively easy game for NIP in comparison to some of their other matchups. NIP's strength of schedule moving forward is actually pretty good. They play 9Z and then immediately have ENX. They have a bit of a stumble or a roadblock in FaZe Clan and then wrap up against Loud. Loud has proven themselves to be a good team. That old Raza Company Academy squad that had a deep run at SI has bounced back and is looking in pretty good form. As for Team Liquid, they play that Loud squad tomorrow, so they will immediately have an adversary who is relatively evenly matched. Liquid will then round out the stage going up against Black Dragons, a bottom 4 team. 9Z, another bottom 4 team, and will finish off against Furia. So both of these teams in the server will have at least one of the top 2 teams to do battle with, but both have some matches where they should be able to put points on the board. That obviously becomes a troubling thing for teams like Los and W7M, who don't have as easy a schedule moving forward. See if they'll be able to make up for lost time if Nip and Liquid can grab some gimmies in those remaining matchups. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, Jesse. There's a game to be played here, and Maya has died early, giving Nip a huge advantage with 1:30 to go.
Yeah, it's that new Sentry TCSG play coming out from Pino. They tried to answer with a logic bomb, but he manages to evade capture. Very much focused on the basement if it's Team Liquid. They've got their Monty already in through this construction side of the map. Try to make his way in through the server hall. Doesn't mean that they're completely focused down here. Daffodil still roaming top floor. Hates is up here and not too far away either. Just playing at the top of the stairs, just outside a bathroom. That phone call will be heard by Daffodil. Meanwhile, though, all of his teammates are going down. Daff needs to focus back on the site because his teammates desperately need his assistance.
Pino now just cleaning up. Liquid, evaporating, some could say. You've still got the shield of Lenda with Diffuse Kit, but Nesk will have to be the one to keep him alive, as a Monty by himself is not as strong as you'd think. Now it's Nesk dealing with what appears to be Khan's. Bullets will whiz through above. Nesk missing everything, and Lenda's in a 1v5. This second half of the game has been punctuated by flawless rounds, and Nip will win the matchup flawlessly themselves.